Hello and welcome to another video where I show you all my pedals that are no distortion or overdrive pedals. So first of all, let's start with my EQ pedals. And the first pedal is this JD Music Labs custom graphic EQ. It's based on a Mass Boogie 5-band EQ, the pedal. And this should be modeled after a Mark IV EQ, although I'm sure it's not working exactly the same. But I don't care. JD Music Labs gave it this awesome Xenoblade Chronicles graphic, and they actually tweaked it to my likings, because I have here, those are the settings that are on the original 5-band EQ, and I have an additional presence and additional resonance and additional presence control that are both I can deactivate or activate. So this means I have two more bands, more or less shelves, high shelf and a low shelf, and I use this pedal almost all the time when I play a real tube amp. I use it in the FX loop to shape the amp, to give it a V-curve, or, well, basically to shape the amp when I'm not really satisfied with what I've got. And I use it when I plug into preamp pedals or pedals that I use as preamp pedals, because the additional resonance and presence control give me lots of options to add more bass to it. So this is, well, used quite some time, mostly in the studio. Next EQ is from Lone Wolf Audio. It's the 6-hammer EQ. It's modeled after a ZEC console EQ that was used in Studio Sunlight. And this EQ I use for two different purposes. One, I use it in front of the amp for clean tones, because I think when you use this in front of a clean amp, it makes the sound always better. I really like it. I play around with the settings to get what I want to have. And I use it after an HM2 pedal. So I would use the HM2 pedal here, then the 6-hammer EQ, and then I go directly to the amp. It shapes the EQ curve of the HM2 just so slightly that I really love what it does. It makes it more fitting to the mix, I think. And not sure, I think I use extreme settings with the mids and the ultra mid. So basically here is all the magic. You can use this pedal into the FX loop as well. However, I don't use it this much because, well, I simply don't like what it does there. Although, so I have one exception with my Marshall valve state. It does an amazing job in the FX loop, and I used it there for a couple of reamping jobs actually. Another EQ, the Lone Wolf Audio 8-ball EQ. This is basically an HM2 style EQ, and I use this to get an HM2 sound, a chainsaw sound out of, well, any distortion pedal that I wanted to have. And yeah, that's how I use it. You can use this in the FX loop as well. However, I don't do it because I don't like the sound. And this gets some use if I'm in the search for a unique chainsaw tone and I basically want to use a specific distortion pedal. Or maybe the artist wants me to use a specific distortion pedal or so, or mostly I would try it out. Next up is my Monarch parametric EQ. This has basically one band that I can either boost or cut, and I bought it because it was cheap, and I've never used it apart from one video, I think. And I most probably won't ever use it. Although one band, it's nice, but simply don't use it. So the last EQ pedal I have is the Lichtlärm Amber Spyglass, and I use this two ways. First of all, I use it as a boost pedal, so I well, I'm kind of cheating here. In front of the amp, I can boost the specific frequencies. For instance, I boost the high mids and the treble, and I reduce the bass and the low mids, add some volume, and gets a nice lead sound. And I use it sometimes in the FX loop of an amp to basically have 4 more options to shape the tone to my liking. Although in the FX loop I don't use extreme settings, I just slightly turn it. What you can also do is use it after a distortion pedal, so that you can basically readjust the tone of the distortion pedal. So I don't only have EQ pedals, I also have some other pedals. And this, for instance, it's my KMA Audio Machines Pylon. It's a noise gate with an integrated boost, so it's kind of cheating here, although I don't use the boost. I use this, well, as a noise gate in an all analog setup. When for recording, it's awesome because it doesn't cut off the tone. It's really cool, it's really natural sounding. And when I have those staccato riffings, I don't want to have noise between them. It makes editing so much easier, and it's a huge time saver, and therefore I use it with a 4-cable method actually. So next up is my Legato loop station. This was actually a gift from the company Legato, and it's a very simple to use looper, and I don't use it this much. I only use it when I'm not at my PC or don't have any recording software and I come up with a riff and I don't want to forget it. Then I play it into this loop station and I can, well, basically record it. And when I have my PC in front of me, I can play it, and then I can remember myself how I played it, and then I will tab it out. So yeah, that's how I use this pedal. Next up, my KMA Audio Machines Tyler Deluxe. This is a looper pedal. It has 2 separate loops that I can blend together, and then I can low pass or high pass. And I have a clean blend, and it even has a level control, so I could use it as a boost, however I don't. And this one I heavily used for my complementary HM2 sounds video. So I had the HM2 in the high pass, I think, loop, and the distortion pedal, whatever, in the low pass loop. And then I blended them to my liking to get a nice unique tone. And well, basically that's how I use it most of the time, to blend 2 distortion pedals in parallel together. I use it for one more occasion when I rehearse with my band Nightbearer and Christian isn't there for whatever reason. I use this as an A/B box, and well, I basically go out to I go to the input, and then I go to Christian's rig and to my rig to have a stereo sound. So here we have the Lichtlärm Trugbild. It's a chorus effect. And I use this for clean sounds when I practice and when I have a unique clean tone. However, this actual pedal don't get much use because I personally think that the chorus effect is too subtle, and therefore I only use it when I practice with my Stratocaster for a clean sound. And yeah, but I actually like it a bit more drastic. Next up, the first non-distortion pedal I recently bought, which means since I started YouTube or since I started being in a band and use the XFX. It's the Catalan brand Echo Rack. It's modeled after the Echo Rack, and it's a delay pedal. It's kind of cheating as well because you can misuse this as a boost when I think it has an internal gain port that you can crank. However, I don't do it. I use it for, I intentionally bought it because it's a Holopine from Amorphis had one, and he said he basically writes all his songs with it. And this pedal basically inspires me. I use a variety of different delay settings and just play around with it, come up with a cool riff, and then find out what I've actually done, and then I reproduce it. I also use it for practicing when I want to have a lead sound. Then I set it to a simple 8-note delay and basically have a solo sound. So far, it's an awesome pedal. I should use it way more often, but I simply don't. And here we have the KMA Audio Machine's Cirrus. It's a spatial temporal modifier. That basically means it's a delay and a reverb. It's one of my newest purchases, and I use this for practicing as well to come up with cool sounds. For songwriting, it inspires me, especially for clean tones, but also for lead sounds. I dial it in until I think it sounds decent, then I play with it, and most of the time cool riff or cool lick or whatever is coming out of my fingers. And that's nice, and therefore I use it. I should use this and actually the Echo Rack more often for recordings. I actually, now that I'm thinking of it, I have used the Echo Rack for Nightbearer's first record, I don't remember which song, but for the intro of one song I actually recorded with the Echo Rack. I should do it more often though, because those two pedals sound awesome. Another pedal, now it's getting big, is my wah pedal. This is, I actually don't recall it, wow, it's called. It's a Dunlop Crybaby 535Q. It's the pedal with all the knobs and switches and whatsoever. And this I use for practicing and for recording when I record solos with wah. I think it's the best sounding wah pedal out there. You can change my mind if you have a better, if you have another opinion or a better suggestion, so write it down in the comment section. I bought it because André Ulbrich from Blind Guardian uses it, and I think he's the best wah guitar player out there. So I bought it and I use it, well, basically for solo stuff. I think I deactivated the boost, and the other settings I always set to taste. I have a copy from JD Music Labs in mini style with automation, auto engage function and auto release, so it pulls back on my pedal board actually. So I have two of them. So, and last not least, I have this fxme from Musicom Lab. It's an audio controller. It's, well, it's not a real effect pedal, so it's kind of cheating, or it's an honorable mention, however you want to call it. I used this with Nightbearer, and I think with Despised as well. I basically used it with my Fractal Audio XFX2 for live and recording, and I used it with my FM3 as well. And the cool thing about this pedal is that you can basically switch your MIDI devices, and you can also engage different pedals here. I think 4 in total, 4 different pedals, or no, 5 actually. And you can, with one foot switch, basically activate pedal 1 and 2, deactivate pedal 3 and 4, and change settings on your XFX or whatever else unit you have with MIDI capabilities. And that's cool. I heavily used it for Nightbearer to switch sounds and activate, deactivate my chainsaw at the same time. But now I have found a way to do it with the FM3, and therefore I don't use it live anymore. However, I'm not very sure. I'm rather sure I won't sell it, because I thought about using it for demo purposes to do a quick A/B comparisons. So for instance, I could here have pre-saved a setting where pedal A is activated and here it's pedal B or whatever. You know, first of all, I'm really surprised that I have this much pedals for this particular video, because I thought I had maybe 4 or so, but all the EQ pedals, I have lots of EQ pedals. And to be honest, I well, I have much more distortion pedals because I think most of the effects that I want to have that are not distortion can be modeled with my XFX3 or FM3 or whatever. And therefore I don't see a purpose in owning this much pedals. However, now that I've talked about all those pedals, I really like EQ pedals. You can simply use it, and the focus is on simple. I can simply use them on my amps to dial in another tone and or to slightly modulate or change the tone. And there's so much options. I can use them in the FX loop or in front of the amp, and it's really awesome. And I think that's the reason why I have lots of distortion pedals, actually. That being said, with modulation pedals, I really have just 3 of them, or actually just 1. And the Echo Rack delay, well, it has some modulation, and yeah, but I have just 2 delays and 1 chorus because I think I can dial it with the XFX. However, with the XFX, the thing is, you don't have the knobs, and you all have you have to use Freckle or X edit or whatever, and it's, well, it's not as much fun and it's not as quick as it is when I just plug in a pedal, and therefore I mostly use them to inspire me or to play around with it. I don't know if I wanna have more modulation pedals or so. I know that I will receive at least 1 in, I hope, a very short amount of time. But yeah, apart from that, lots of different little helper pedals that make my everyday work so much easier, especially when dialing with real amps. And I want to focus on dialing more with real amps and not totally rely on the XFX. And some videos are coming that talk about this particular topic. But yeah, so now let me know, what pedals do you use that are not distortion pedals or overdrive pedals? And what do you think is missing in my collection? Just write a comment down below in the comment section. And if you want to support this channel, check out the links in the description. Well, and with this said, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. May the force be with you and have a nice day.